This next person needs very little introduction. I am so excited to invite Senator Ed Markey, one of the original co-sponsor of the Green New Deal resolution in the Senate, partnered with Representative OcasioCortez in the House, and who has been a climate advocate for decades. So please give a warm welcome to Senator Markey.
Thank you, Varshini. Thank you all so much. Varshini is like a one-word wonder now, like Beyonce. You just have to say Varshini. Just a phenomenal leader, helping to organize across our whole country. And I know she'll be addressing the crowd later tonight, but I want to thank my fantastic partner on the Green New Deal resolution, Congresswoman Alexandria OcasioCortez. When she and I first met back in December last year to talk about working together, I could see her vision for our country, one that puts people ahead of profits, one that fuels our economy with clean energy, not dirty pollution. I am so thankful for her leadership, for her passion, for her friendship. She is a true climate warrior and an inspiration, not just for the Congress, but for an entire generation. And of course, thanks to all of you here tonight, the climate, clean energy, environmental, social justice, public health, and grassroots fighters that make up the most powerful movement organizing in the United States today. You are lifting up the gaze of our country to the constellation of possibilities for our communities, for our nation, and for the world. That is what the Sunrise Movement is doing. And advocates in blue and red states are demanding that leaders commit to real action on climate change now. And I'll tell you why it's important for you to be here today. Nearly a century ago, young women did not have the right to vote. Young women created a suffragette movement. They organized and they got the right to vote. When African Americans did not have the right to vote a generation ago, young people rose up and African Americans got the right to vote. Young people rose up to demand that gay marriage be made legal, and it is today. This generation of young people, your generation, is rising up and demanding that we protect the planet against the greatest challenge of our time, climate change. And in the face of the opposition, in the face of climate denier-in-chief Donald Trump, in the face of critics and naysayers, you are not going to agonize, you are going to organize. That is what is putting fear into the hearts of the fossil fuel industry across our entire country. You will lead the movement that implements the solutions to end the catastrophe that is endangering the planet. Never in our history have the interests of all Americans been so united in a single issue: climate change. From the air we breathe, to the jobs that employ us, to the neighborhoods that we live in, to the economy we operate within. Climate change defines our existence. The United States Climate Assessment says without significant mitigation, the increase in global annual average temperatures could reach 9 degrees Fahrenheit higher by 2100, with sea levels 11 feet higher. Global temperatures are already the highest in recorded history. Wealth inequality is at its highest point since the era of the Great Depression. The erosion of our coastlines, the erosion of earning power of workers, the pollution of our planet, the pollution of our democracy by big oil and the Koch brother financing, The interrelationship of these ills and injustices is undeniable, but the challenge is not insurmountable. It will only be through an historic, generational commitment to end climate change that we create the kind of democracy that works for all Americans. We can deliver a Green New Deal for America. So what are we talking about when we talk about a Green New Deal? When we talk about a Green New Deal, we are talking about jobs and justice. We are talking about the greatest blue-collar job creation program in a generation. We are talking about repairing the historic oppression of frontline and vulnerable communities, which have borne the worst burdens of our fossil fuel economy. We are talking about justice for the Black and Latino families who breathe different air than white Americans have been breathing. The Green New Deal is about creating an historic 10-year mobilization that will mitigate climate emissions and build climate resiliency. We need massive renewable energy deployment, wind, solar, offshore wind, storage batteries. Our energy future will not be found in the dark of a mine, but in the light of the sun. We know the answer. We can create high-quality jobs and enforce labor standards, guarantee rights to retirement security and health care, and conduct inclusive decision-making. We can engage in job creation that is good for all of creation. That is what the Green New Deal is all about. Now, the critics have lined up to take their shots at the Green New Deal. Totally bogus stories about ice cream and hamburgers and airplanes. They call the Green New Deal pie in the sky. They call it socialism. But what about the oil and gas industry tax breaks that are a permanent part of the tax code, some of which have been on the books for over 100 years. But Republicans only call it socialism when we try to help the things we like. So here's what I say: for wind and solar and all-electric vehicles and clean energy, give us some of that socialism that the oil and gas industry has had for a century. Republicans, they don't like the Green New Deal because they don't like functioning government. Republicans don't like the Green New Deal because they don't like change. Republicans don't like the Green New Deal because clean energy jeopardizes the bottom line of their biggest contributors: big oil, big coal, the Koch brother Republican. And the Koch brothers' backers may not believe climate change is an existential threat to humankind, but they do believe and they know that the goals of the Green New Deal are an existential threat to the business model of the Koch brothers and all of their corporate polluters and fossil fuel allies. And are we afraid? Oh, no, 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 no. Remember the old saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And we are going to win this fight. Because on every one of these issues, from health care to reproductive rights to gun safety to immigration to climate change, there is one thing that separates those special interests from you. You are right and they are wrong on every one of those issues. This is the moral, the national security, public health, economic, and environmental issue of our time. We have acted on this scale before, and we must do so again. We have the technology to do it. We have the moral obligation to do it. We have the economic imperative to do it. We just need the political will. And that is where you come in, because the Green New Deal isn't just a resolution. The Green New Deal is a revolution that is taking place in this country. The sun is setting on the dirty energy of the past. Today marks the dawn of a new era of climate action. Just look at the sunrise. So are you ready to rise up for that victory that we are going to have? Are you ready to rise up and take on the oil and gas and coal and fossil fuel industries? Are you ready to rise up for wind and solar and clean energy, all electric vehicles? Will you go out and make this happen for our country? Are you ready for this fight against the strongest political force we have ever seen in our history? Are you ready to fight? Let us go out there and win this war for every person who lives on our planet. Thank you all. Thank you, Sunrise. Thank you for your leadership.